Seeds of Empty Space by A Pasquale, Chapter 1. Imperfection. We're all so damned imperfect. We all make mistakes. Death and taxes, these aren't the only things men share in common. I must bargain to add regret, a heinous word that too few ever want to admit in themselves, not to mention contradiction. We're all full of contradiction, as Mother once said after learning about the greater meanings of this word from Preacher Brown. You see, I killed a man. Not intentionally, it was an accident. Truly, I can't entirely remember what happened that night. The last thing I recall was ordering another round of hard booze at the bar and seeing a blurry pen I'd signed my receipt with. Oh, and there was a glimpse of the full moon outside. Then came a blackout and waking up to a ton of cops prowling the jail cell with questions before I was sent to a judge and jury, which sentenced me to prison for 7 years. Involuntary manslaughter or something like that. Hell, I thought I could drive the car home safely. I never even knew the person I'd killed, and I sure as hell was glad I didn't. The pain of it all was too much. In confession, Preacher Brown could never say, "You are forgiven, my son," because I was never his son, and my father was long gone by that time, my father having passed away in the middle of a night in my youth to a sudden chest pain. How could Preacher Brown forgive anyone when he too had his irreversible regrets? He once said he'd wound up preaching because he cheated on his wife and lost her to suicide. Hell, was any man ever capable of forgiving another? You see, this was my greatest question, heading into prison and then leaving the wretched place. Even if that poor soul I'd killed by accident was up there in heaven, could he ever forgive me for ending his stay a little too early in this world? Many times I'd contemplated suicide with Father's old pistol, which was still tucked under a bunch of underwear in my sock drawer. I was never sure why he bought the gun, or why he waved it around during some late nights after Mother came home from bingo with the girls. It's a pity there are too many unanswered questions in every man's life, and boy did I have too many to ask. So many, in fact, that all too often I still have secret thoughts of jumping from the Pasadena Bridge or hopping in front of the Gold Line. I promised myself that if things got too bad, that it would be easy enough to slip inside a closed garage with the motor running over a decent long love song and plenty of whiskey. But no, it was whiskey which had brought me to this place in the first place, and this was the curse of being too far gone, I tell you, to be forever lost to a moment you can never erase in time. Guilt. It was another curse I delivered upon myself. My shrink once said it was an emotion we all felt from breaking our own rules. Sure as hell, I'd broken my own rules, and yet there was no way I could relieve myself of the results. If there's only one thing you can understand from this confession, it's to not do what I've done, to live in regret of something you can never forgive yourself for doing, an act so terrible you wish in every living moment to undo. At least I was back at the cemetery with a fresh batch of red roses to leave for Mother. I set the roses on her grave and knelt over the sand with a long prayer unspoken. I could never be sure of anything anymore, not even my own redemption. The wind was carrying through all the empty space as I closed my eyes and mumbled the same prayer again, in case my unspoken pleadings went unheard in the heavens. I wanted to be free of my suffering and curses. Could I ever get free? Are we all cursed from birth to now make mistakes? Are we all cursed from birth? Is the Bible right about men being too infallibly weak to overcome their flesh? Can I ever escape the shame? Is it because of a faulty design that we can blame on the freedom of our flesh? Freedom. Freedom, it can be a word which defines a different purpose for every human, no matter if it is financially driven, or whether it is for some dire hope to escape emotional sufferings, which for me, well, maybe I'm too shy to confess such a thing. But my goodness, when you're a guilty man, you come to realize that it's better to never lie to yourself or to God, especially if you're hoping to resolve what you did wrong. Even Preacher Brown had once said that a little faith would force any ill spirit out. I'll admit this, that I knew somehow some sort of evil thing was still haunting my soul with all sufferings of guilt and regret. If the devil was behind this, hell, he sure had a ton of friends, enough to go the whole world around. Guilt will change a man, I tell you. It brings compromise. And well, that is one thing that I can never lie about. I was ready to compromise myself of desires just to earn a little more faith. So there I stood in a barren, silent cemetery over the brittle, naked bones of my poor mother and father and cat, and the air was looming with all empty silence as I made my way back to the car. No melodies of the birds, no wavering strings of harps in the clouds, no sights of the angels or demons which might be watching me, none except for my own buried deep inside. Hell, I should have known then just how much spirit the power of desperation influences in a man. Just then, I was about to choose another dangerous path again, and hell, it was going to be another one of those irreversible wrong turns you can only hope will set you right.